Alright, the goal of this lab is to set up a computer. So we're going to start by plugging a power strip into the wall. So we can expand on the elements of the shelf to figure out which one we want. And if we expand outlets, we see the power strip. So we can drag that to the workspace until we see the yellow rectangle, the tall vertical rectangle, and then release it. And then we plug that power strip into the wall, like so. Computer into the power strip. So we'll change the view of the computer to the back. We see where to connect the power there, so we'll go to cables and we'll look for a power strip. We see the AC power cable, and that has the same type of connector right there. And so we'll drag that to the back of the computer, this end of the cable, and we'll drag this end to the power strip and release it. Okay, so now we're going to connect the following components to the computer. The keyboard. So a keyboard is an input device, so we'll expand the input devices until we see the keyboard, and then we'll drag it to the workspace until we see the tall vertical rectangle, and then we'll release. And we see that this keyboard has a USB type A connector, which looks like this. And look at the back of the computer. We'll zoom in a bit, shift to the left, and scroll up a bit. We can see that we have some USB type A connectors right here. So we'll drag this until the blue rectangle is highlighted and then release to connect the keyboard. Now we want to do the same thing for the mouse. We'll select the mouse. We'll drag it has the same USB type A connectors. We'll drag that until the blue rectangle is highlighted and then release. Now we want the speakers, so on the shelf we'll click to expand speakers and select it, and then we will drag this. I'm going to drag this past the power strip until I get the yellow vertical rectangle, and then I'll release. And we can see that for the speakers there's a 3.5mm TRS connector, and it's green colored. We can look at the front and see it's cylindrical. So we'll go to the computer to make that connection between the speakers, and we can zoom in as much as we wish, right, to see that the green one is right there. We can zoom in more. You can zoom in close enough that you can read that this says line out. So this is the line out to your speakers. And the colors match also, the green to the green, so we'll drag it until the circle is blue, highlighted in blue, and then release it to connect the speakers. Alright, now we'll add some objects to the bench and connect them using the appropriate cables, starting with the monitor. So we'll expand monitors, click on it, and we will drag that to the, we'll drag that to the workspace. And where do I want this on the workspace? I'll put it between, how about between the computer and the mouse, until we get that yellow rectangle to release. And there it is, and we'll switch around to the back because we'll need to connect this, right? And so we'll expand cables, and that is like an internet cable. That's for a DC device like a printer. That's a USB cable, A to B. This one is for connecting the monitor to the computer. So select that, and we can see that both ends of this connector are DVI-D. So they're DVI-D on both sides, the left side and the right side of the cable, both sides. So we can look at the details. We can look at the front to see this has a little bit of a D shape in the rectangle, and then there are 9 pins, a space, and then 9 pins, and then a longer pin there, I guess we call that. And the place to connect that with that same shape on the back of the monitor is right there, the 9 pins, and so on. So we'll drag and connect that there. and the corresponding spot on the computer. We'll scroll up and we can see that it's right there, this one. So we'll drag this here. Now the monitor and computer are connected. We still have to provide power to the monitor. So we'll select the AC power cable and we can click on it and see that it has that shape. So we'll drag this end here and we'll zone out so we can see where we want to connect this to the power strip. So drag that to the power strip. Now there's power to the monitor. All right, now the printer. We want to add the printer to the workspace. So we'll expand printers. We have one printer, so we'll drag it to the workspace, make a yellow rectangle to the right of the power strip, and release. And just like with the monitor, we'll turn the printer around to the back so that we can find it where to connect the power. We can zoom in a bit because we're also going to want to connect this to the computer as well. And we will connect. This has a USB type B connector here on the left, right? So we'll want this USB cable connector. This is the type B side. This is the type A side that will go to the computer. This is the type B side that will go to the printer, or to the printer. So we'll click on details. We'll click on front so we can see that it has this square D-shaped kind of a connection. And this is the square D-shape USB type B space on this machine. Right, and while we're zoomed in, we can see now that like by connecting just one side, like just the printer and not to the computer, we can see that we have a partial connection here because I have not yet connected the USB type A to the computer, and that's intentional because like while we're zoomed in a bit, I'm going to do the power also. This is the power adapter for the printer. This is for DC for an HP printer, and we can see it's purple and it has the 3 holes, so we'll drag that to where that goes, and then we will power up. Let's do this partial connection first. We'll connect the printer to the computer at one of its USB type A connection areas. We'll get that blue rectangle and then release. And then we'll go back to the printer now that we've made that connection between the printer and the computer. And we see that this printer has a partial connection because we have not plugged it into the wall yet, into the power strip. So we'll select this end and drag it to the power strip. And now that printer should be connected to both the computer and the power strip. All right, it says plug the following devices into the power strip, the monitor and the computer. I think we've already done that. We did that for the computer and we did that for the monitor as well. So I think we've already taken care of that, yes. And the highlights show like that power cable is going to the monitor. Okay, so what else do we have to do? Connect the computer on the network port to the plate, to the wall plate. Okay, so this is our network connection. It's an RJ45. Shielded connector 568B. We can say it's the same by the description. It's the same connector on both ends. And so we'll click on details on the front and see it has that sort of a shape. And that's where that sort of shape is on the computer. So we'll drag one end to the computer until we get the blue rectangle and then release. And we will go back until we see this wall plate network connector. We can drag the other end until we get a little blue rectangle there and release. Now we see that is connected as well. And I think that's everything. So let's go ahead and score the lab and see how we did. All right, very good. Thank you for watching.